Welcome to my Axis and Allies 1914 video. Today we're going to be talking about England. Now in this series of videos we've been using tournament rules, so keep that in mind when it comes to unit movement, sea mines, things of that nature. And we're going turn by turn through each country on their first moves of the game to look at what strategies they might pursue. And then we respond to other strategies as we progress through the game. So if your game, the countries that play before you do something different than what we've done here, obviously the board will look a little bit different. Now you'll see that the starting location of many of the units across the board are not their initial starting location. That's because for each country we've went ahead and moved their troops in accordance with their strategy, and for all battles, both in offense and defense, we took the statistically most likely outcome for casualties, removed the casualties from the board, and then the result is what you see here. So we've been through Austria-Hungary, Russian Empire, German Empire, and our last video was on France. So now we're going to be talking about England. Now, just a quick overview. You may remember that in this game, Germany and Austria are focusing heavily on Russia. Germany has made a move against France, but clearly based on how it's splitting its forces, it isn't wholeheartedly in it. Austria has also moved on Italy. France has moved to counter Germany, but has taken a defensive position with the strength of its forces in Alsace, with the hope that Germany will attack the weaker Picardy, but by doing so split its two main armies in half, allowing France to more easily dispatch one half and then the other. The Allies are also pursuing an Ottoman first strategy. You'll see that by the placement of the French Navy, which is now entirely in the Mediterranean. Germany, up north, currently controls the seas. Now, for England, we're going to do something that may seem a little counterintuitive. But guess what? We have more important things to do than worry about the North Sea. Germany has no transports. It's splitting its military units between Russia and France, with the bulk going towards Russia. We're not going to worry about it. In fact, because Germany's full strength is not devoted to France, the French player should be able to do a reasonably good job of holding out for a while. In fact, if the German player sees England is not building a navy to help out France, that might make it more likely to switch strategies, start moving west, and in doing so, all the casualties it's taken against Russia have been in vain. It means Austria itself is now left, after suffering many casualties, to face Russia. And with our Ottoman first strategy as the Allies, if we can knock out the Ottoman Empire and Russia is strong, that's going to mean big trouble for the Central Powers, because Austria is going to have to devote more to just fending off Russia, taking pressure off Italy. Germany is going now, after heading east, then switching back to west, then now it'll have to head east again, and it's just wasting a bunch of time moving its units back and forth. So if Germany sees England not building navy and switch sides, that's totally okay with us, especially if it prompts them into an offensive move on their next turn to attack Picardy, and then France can destroy, or at least contest and mobilize, half of Germany's invading force. So instead of building navy, what we're going to do as England, we're going to build a fighter, 2 artillery, and spend the rest of our money on infantry. And I'm sure you guessed it, we're going to put them all in India at the end of our turn. But first, let's consider movement. There's nothing we can do up in the North Sea. We have no navy. Wouldn't really be much of a point in just moving troops around England. Though ultimately, we can move them down closer to the coast if we want to. This move doesn't really matter. It just depends on where you think you're eventually going to build your navy. We could leave them in Wales. or split them between Wales and London, put them all in London, put them all in Wales. It really doesn't matter. For the sake of simplicity, we're just going to move them down to the coast and be done with it. But that piece is at your own discretion. Eventually, we'll want as many units as possible in the same territory once we start building transports, but that will be a bit after this first turn. Now, let's get the less consequential fights out of the way first. Now, Germany did what it could to consolidate its forces in Africa so they couldn't easily be picked off. We are going to do what we can in order to use our strength in numbers wherever possible to fight the Germans. So they have an infantry and an artillery right here. We're going to hit them with an equal infantry and artillery and move another infantry over here. Now you might think, well, we're both going to take casualties. We might end up with one unit, not a huge advantage. And that's true. But if we split our forces, then Germany will just attack them one at a time, clearing them out. And once we clear out the bulk, if not all, of Germany's forces in Africa, then it doesn't matter if we only have 1 or 2 units total. We'll just march them across the land and eventually get all of the IPCs. The Central Powers, it's extremely unlikely that they're going to build a navy and reinforce Africa. Not really something for us to worry about at this point. So we're going to make that move. We are going to leave this infantry here in British East Africa. We do not have numerical advantage if we attack here. You might wonder, well, if we attack here and here, we would tie them. Granted, we're a little weaker on offense than they are on defense. But what we're going to do instead, we'll actually use this infantry later this turn against the Ottomans. On Italy's turn, he'll move his infantry over here, which will discourage a German attack, because on Germany's turn, we'll be stronger on defense, and they'll be the ones on offense. And then we'll just use that for the time being and proceed as needed after that. We just need to consolidate our forces, attack where we can, where it's smart. And if Germany wants to attack us when we're stronger on defense on its turn, then that's fine. That's a battle you should be happy to take as England. Now, let's talk Ottomans, because that is where our focus is going to be. That is where the Russian focus has been, attacking Mesopotamia. The French have been moving their fleet into the Mediterranean. This is an all-out assault on the Ottomans. Unfortunately, the French won't be able to make it until their second turn, but the Ottomans will only get one turn before the French get to go again because of turn order. So that's not the end of the world, and really for balancing purposes it's probably better. Otherwise, the Allies could potentially knock the Ottomans out of the game completely before the Ottomans have even had a turn, and that really wouldn't be fair. And on that note, remember also, tournament rules specify that every nation can suffer economic or political collapse. For economic collapse, when it comes to the Ottomans, territories where 7 total production must be in enemy hands or contested. And that means, or economic collapse means that they can no longer collect money or build units until they are no longer in economic collapse. They can still use the units that are on the board, though. Political collapse means that they're basically knocked from the game. All their units are removed. They're done, essentially. So our goal is going to, as the Allies, is going to be economic or political collapse of the Ottomans. With this kind of focus, and with England building up in India, one might expect that if the Ottomans go into economic collapse, political collapse is not far away. But we need to get close to that, and we need to achieve that. Otherwise, this is all for nothing. So what is England going to do? Well, first off, it's going to make the obvious move and attack Transjordan. Now, we're probably not going to take it, but we will be contesting it. The Ottomans do have a lot of forces they can move down, but we're going to do a few other things on our turn which will force the Ottomans into a precarious situation where they're going to have to pick and choose their battles very carefully. Now, I mentioned that this infantry in Anglo Egypt Sudan is going to do something. Yes, we are going to move this fleet here, pick him up, drop him off there. Now, we're contesting in Transjordan. Because we landed here, we're going to get an additional infantry and artillery, which now threatens this contested territory, Syrian desert. And Mesopotamia is currently contested, but technically, if the Ottomans were to take it back, we would contest it too. It's a very good location to have allied forces. But we're not done yet, because we also have this fleet here. And we are going to use our transport, pick up our 2 units that we can, drop them off in Mesopotamia to help the Russians, and we're going to get a coastal bombardment, which may not always, but the chances are better that it will hit this Ottoman troop than not, which means we take the territory, we reinforce it without losing a man. The Ottomans also do not have any artillery in this territory, which means that we do not suffer that artillery fire first on amphibious assaults issue. But even so, we are still not done. You might think we've moved all of our units down here, and we pretty much have, but no, we're not done, because we're going to move these troops forward. Now, this is 5 infantry and 1 artillery. Persia is going to get some Ottoman units, and that's fine, because after our turn, this territory should no longer be contested, which means these troops can't move over here to reinforce. These troops can't get over here to help Persia, and we are moving in with a sizable force. Will it take out the Persian units in 1 turn? Maybe, maybe not. I haven't run the math on it. But taking this out is going to put us in a much better position to get troops over here. Because if this is friendly and this is friendly, or this is friendly and this is contested, because of tournament rules, we can move directly from India over to Mesopotamia. Plus, we can reinforce every turn with our transport here. Even if we don't take Persia, we'll just keep moving 2 troops over. And we've got this transport as well, which can cause some annoyances. And now, consider the position that the Ottomans are in. They will have lost this territory, and this one will be threatened, and this one is already contested. Now, they may do some things on their turn, and we'll talk about that in another video, but they also have to keep in mind the French Navy has 3 transports and a coastal bombardment, which means, and because of its positioning, it can hit here. It can, well, some of its fleet's already here. It could move here to attack either of these territories. It could also move up here. Now, we'll have to attack that destroyer, so maybe that's a small bit of help to the Ottomans, but it has to consider that at this point, if it doesn't take anything back on its turn, every single Ottoman territory can be attacked in one way or another. And if it doesn't leave enough on Constantinople, the capital, to completely defeat in 1 round of combat anything that the French might land, that means that Constantinople at the end of France's turn will be contested. And Austria and Germany have no way of getting troops down here to free that up before the Ottomans' second turn. And that means that even if they take Transjordan back, they'll be down 3 production Mesopotamia, either controlled by enemies or contested, and they'll be down 6 production Constantinople, contested, unless the Ottomans do something really foolish. There is no way that the Allies will be able to take Constantinople. Even if the Ottomans move all their troops out, they'll be placing new units there. It's incredibly unlikely. If that happens, the Ottoman player deserves to be knocked out of the game. But chances are, Constantinople might be contested, Now, there are some artillery there. France might decide doesn't want to do that because the Ottomans are likely to hit quite a bit on defense, plus France won't get its coastal bombardments because of that cruiser up there. But they could decide, if Ankara is left open, to go after that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If that happens and it's contested, the Ottomans would be in economic collapse and wouldn't be able to build any units. That might actually be the safer move for France, assuming that the Ottomans don't leave themselves wide open. They could, of course, go after Smyrna. That is not going to lead to economic or political collapse, but they could if they want to just hassle the Ottomans, distract them, while England builds up even more its mega death machine from India and moves in. So the Ottomans, no matter what, are going to be in an extremely difficult position. Now, that is what I would recommend, assuming the Allies are playing this strategy and the Central Powers are also playing this similar strategy, which I believe is one of the better and also more common opening moves for Central Powers. I think this is an excellent opening for the Allies, and I hope at this point, while the Russian attack might have seemed a little bit strange, I hope you can see how this is all coming together. And so, finally, we are going to put all of our units in India. The Ottomans, there is no way they will be able to build a fighter. Well, I guess I can't say that. They could, but it would be very foolish. They're going to need the ground forces with all the Allies coming from all these different directions. But they could build a fighter, but chances are extremely likely that they won't, which means this single British fighter will give British forces air supremacy in this entire region. And that is what I would recommend as England. As always, if you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Any questions, comments, recommendations, or strategies you have that you'd like comments on, please mention that in the comments section. I'd be happy to respond to them. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and you'll tune in for our next one, where we look at the Ottoman response to everything coming their way.